Welcome to A&M, where I'm about to interview whistleblower Nicholas Wilson. Good morning, Nicholas.
Morning, Angel.
So what made you decide to stand in the election?
Pure frustration, really. In January this year, HSBC have agreed to repay £4 million as a result of a fraud which I've been working on for years and years and years. But the true figure should be 80 to 100 million pounds. So they are sitting on information which anybody can see, which proves that these charges amount to something like 80 to 100 million pounds. The regulators are gagged somehow. The media are gagging me. And I thought, well, if you can't beat them, join them. I thought if I could become an MP, maybe I won't be ignored so much.
So are you yourself uncorruptible?
I'm called Mr. Ethical because when I worked in the law, I refused to defraud debtors. So my bosses called me Mr. Ethical. Oh, here comes Mr. Ethical. So I just carried on using that name, ironically. But I don't claim to be the most ethical person out there. I mean, sometimes I'll throw away plastic in my bin.
You've got a lot of support now, but equally, after the election, you had quite a lot of people approaching you and criticising you due to the very tight vote that there was in Hastings and Rye. Can you put people's minds at rest as to why your approach is not to detract from Labour's success?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I went into this, my campaign issue was corruption. It is non-partisan because corruption affects all the parties and affects every strata of society. So it's only that reason. People are saying to me that, I should stand down and let Labour win. Well, no, I'm not doing that. I'm a whistleblower. My life has been completely destroyed by blowing the whistle. I know another man whose life has been completely destroyed by blowing the whistle, and he was blowing the whistle on the blacklisting scandal around the construction industry. Also involved in that was Unite, the union, as it's always said. He pleaded with Labour to help him because he'd lost, 10 years like me, he'd lost his career, he couldn't work, he'd lost his home. His life was destroyed because he was doing the right thing. Labour didn't help him at all, just as they haven't helped me. Labour are funded by Unite, the union. It's the same principle as the Tories and HSBC. And also Labour's second biggest donor, apart from the unions, is PricewaterhouseCoopers, HSBC's auditors. I joined Labour last year because I was told if I joined, I could vote for Jeremy Corbyn as leader. So I joined. They'll probably throw me out now. And then they said, no, you can't vote for Jeremy Corbyn as leader unless you pay £25. Now, in any other commercial transaction, that would be fraud. My politics are of the left, and they seem to be the only party that, espouses some of the things I believe in, so that's the only alternative I have. But believe me, they are not squeaky clean, and my campaign against corruption doesn't exclude Labour.
Unite the Union and HSBC, I mean, you wouldn't think of them as being equally measured titans of corruption, but in order to be able to have a unified government in this country, people like you, coming from the outside as an independent, have to be able to work within the broadly socialist consensus that's emerging. And I'm interested as to how we're going to achieve you doing that for the benefit of everyone.
Well, I would like to backtrack a bit. I mean, I'm not saying Unite the Union is riddled with corruption. I'm saying that there were some people in the union at high level who were involved in the blacklisting saga. But I'm not saying the whole union is corrupt by any means. I'm not saying that. I am saying the whole of HSBC is corrupt. It's the most criminal bank in the world.
So do you think that somebody who's sitting on the kind of knowledge that people want to hide to that extent will be allowed to be an elected MP?
Well, it depends how I negotiate the process, I think. I mean, as many people have now seen, at one of the hustings, Amber Rudd tried to censor me. Well,
yes.
She did censor me. But that was a mistake, and I've turned that around, and it's gone viral. And, all those people accusing me of keeping Amber Rudd in, it's not the case. I haven't targeted Labour, and I wasn't fighting Labour in the election. I was fighting corruption. I don't think that the degree of corruption around Labour is nearly as severe as it is around the Tories. So I want them to get in. I have according to other people, have done a great deal to support the Labour cause. But pundits are saying, I've prevented Amber Rudd from becoming Prime Minister. It's for other people to make these comments. But people are saying that I have now made Hastings a marginal seat. So next time she'll be gone. As I say, I'm not that interested in the tactics and the procedures and so on. But I would like to be an MP. I would like to be in Parliament, especially with parliamentary privilege, so that I can challenge people, confront people that I believe, or my constituents or my contacts believe, are involved in corruption. If I can subvert the normal procedures to expose how corrupt it is, then I think I will stand a chance. As I say, to me it's non-partisan, but I don't want to attack Labour, and if I stand again, I won't be attacking Labour. I will be tackling corruption, and primarily Tory corruption.
Well, it's a very difficult position that you're in, having to justify that in any way to people, because obviously the democratic process is supposed to be able to cope with people standing for whatever they believe in and taking whatever votes they can get.
Yeah, well, I'm tired of having to justify. I've given up. I mean, now I just block people on Twitter immediately if they start talking about me splitting the vote.
You're going to go ahead. If we do have another election, can you see that there's any hope of sorting out these corruption problems through the parliamentary process?
Not entirely, no. If everybody just accepts the status quo, which they have done for hundreds of years, then, I mean, that's why Britain is the most corrupt country in the world. We're steeped in privilege and division and corruption. An analogy I use is there's this lake of corruption, and the MPs are just skimming stones across the surface, and the one whose stones goes the furthest wins. And that's how I see it. I'm more interested in what's underneath the lake.
We might be heading for another election. These issues are really crucial, and it's better to get them out and air them now than just carry on as before.
The problem with parties, limited companies, all sorts of hierarchies invite corruption. I believe in networking. Successful activists like UK Uncut have been a non-hierarchical network of connected people. If I was ever elected as an MP, I would take information from people. I would have a network, as I do at the moment. I'm connected with Debt Resistance UK and various other activists who are looking into the Lobo loan scandals with local authorities and so on. And if I was an MP, they would have a voice in Parliament via me, and these issues can come out. At the moment, they are all censored by the media.
Well, I can't argue with that.
So, if I can shine a spotlight, for example, MPs that are legislating to privatise the NHS who have, connections with private healthcare companies, that kind of corruption needs to be exposed and eliminated. So,
in a way, what you're trying to do is approach the fact that we are running a kind of unofficial caste system.
Oh, yeah. I've never put it that way, but now you use that expression, this austerity thing, it's class war.
Do you think there's hope now in this country that we can make an inroad into this awful situation where our lives are being run by corporate entities dressed up as politicians?
Well, it's very difficult because I know I'm gagged by the media. HSBC advertise in newspapers and on TV. They don't have to advertise. They're not interested in current account customers. That's not where their profits come from. £400 million a year in advertising, and it's to keep the media quiet. People might say, well, the BBC reported this, the Guardian... What they report is the news. They don't make the news. They don't investigate. They don't disclose anything.
No.
And it's a nice little symbiosis because HSBC put the adverts in. There's some big scandal about HSBC, like the Swiss leaks. So the Guardian prints that, and they sell more copies, so HSBC do better with their advert. If it's out there, if somebody's already released it, they know the Guardian have got to report it, otherwise they wouldn't be a newspaper. So they benefit, but they know that the deal is, I'm sure, whether it's written or unwritten, the deal is that the BBC and the Guardian will not investigate and they will not expose anything themselves. And we all know through Peter Oborne at the Telegraph and the Guardian, advertising was suspended. If you go against HSBC, they will pull their advertising and you will lose millions of pounds. That is the only reason they're advertising. So as long as that is the situation, it is very difficult. That's why I'm standing as an MP, because in Parliament, it will be at least reported in Hansard. Nobody can gag Hansard.
I want to wish you the best of luck, and all of us, we're going to need it. And thank you very much for talking to us, Nicholas, and have a great day.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks.